Hello there, Karen. Right, a few of you have messaged to say that you're not getting my notifications, you're not getting my lives, you're not getting my things, and I'm going to change everything over. So I am officially taking control back of my website, my social media, and everything. As you know, since I left, let me pull you to me. As you know, since I left Downing Street and came to Portsmouth, Amber has literally just held the fort basically and picked up pieces because I just dropped the baton. I just literally was forced to drop the baton. I was pulled into CP meetings, obviously, because I was pregnant and because I'd come here to Portsmouth and gone to housing as somebody who had no assets, all got jigsaw just been added near me. Shit, I'm always on here when it gets added towards me and it's like I can't click the button or I click you out. So anyway, I've got up and working laptop. The only thing it hasn't got on it is words and windows. Now, the reason I'm waiting for my PA to come on, but she's saying that she's getting no notifications, but she will obviously is on my wall at the moment. So this has arrived today and I've opened it and I need to write in my diary and write on the form that the date today that it has arrived. What is it? It's a PIP form. It's a personal independent payment. How your health condition or disability affects you. So basically back in 2010, I was on, I think I've even got in my little drawer here somewhere. Basically, it should be here actually, because I have had it around. I've probably put it up there as something not to bin right now. So basically in 2010, I was on PIP. Sorry, not on PIP, on disability living allowance. And disability living allowance is measured at different scales, and I had been on disability living allowance since 2004, I think it was. And basically it was the university that took over and said, look, you don't have to struggle at university. Hey there, Claire. You don't have to struggle at university. So it was a disability person. See that middle finger there? Struggles to bend. Hello. So yeah, so basically I've got in front of me, for those that don't know, is what's called a PIP form, right? Yes, it's got my address on it, and yes, I've just flagged it, but I'm not protected on my website, and I've decided to go blue. And the reason that I've decided to go blue is because blue means loyalty and trust, and because I need to build a rapport with, yet again, so I was wearing a blue dress when I first came out, black and blue dress, because it was the I was basically blending in at the conference. Now, as you'll know, if you see any of my campaign stuff back in 2013, I was in high heel shoes and dresses, okay? And now I live in flackies on trainers. Do you love my fucking socks? Look at these. Talk about highly. Look at my trainers. So anyway, basically, from the time that I came here to Portsmouth, I was in shell shock, okay? And I literally told the social workers, you come into my ward, you go out with a bullet to your head. That I had no choice but to stay in the UK, that I was a high-risk pregnancy, and this was about a mother who only ever gets medical intervention by a midwife. And that is because I have hypermobility Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. If you understand German Shepherds... Guys, I'm just coming through to use Eleanor for a second. Where's Eleanor gone? Oh, she's looking for me. So if you understand German Shepherds, so this is Eleanor. It's either Eleanor, Elena, or... we don't know because we don't know the spelling of her name. So... we're sort of trying to see what she feels more comfortable with. And this is also the problem with children that are taken. Right, anyway, this is Eleanor. So basically, Eleanor is a bitch. She's a female dog. And obviously, in this world, they breed animals, right? But with German Shepherds, they have what's called, I think it's called hip dysplasia. And if somebody was, say... to impregnate Eleanor, so a dog would impregnate Eleanor, she would not be able to give birth to her pups without the assistance of somebody trained who was a vet, right? Because no, I don't want her to carry. I want her to go to her bed. Now, people understand this in German Shepherds, okay? Right, I need you boys away again, so I'm going back in my office. Can you let go of her? Eleanor, to bed. Bed. Right, you guys back in the living room. But what they don't understand is it in mothers. So I've got my green folder here. And this green folder, unfortunately... and how does EDS affect me? Try pulling this up with just my fingers right now. I can't. I genuinely can't, right? This is why I've not gone yesterday, today.
Saturday?
It is Saturday, yes.
And said Saturday.
It is Saturday, yes.
They said Saturday.
They said Saturday, yes, because it is Saturday today. Today is Saturday. It's the day of rest. It's Sabbath day. Today is Sabbath day. It's the day of just rest.
Why not stars around it?
Because it's tied back my clip. I've put a charger around my curtain, so...
You're not supposed to do that.
Well, I've used it as a curtain hold backer, so you can see me in my office.
I'm happy I found it 2 wings.
Yes, this is why I'm not skating. So how many have I got?
And 1 pink.
So I'm missing a pink. And I haven't got my roller skates to start the skate tour. The team that have got... The reason that I'm not standing with the team that's already been built is, one, I went down to the church and I basically, as you know, if you see my lives from last Sunday, I went down to the church, I lit a candle, I prayed for all men, all women, all children. And that's all I stand by. Men, women and children. Everything else is broken consciousness. So anyway, what I've always said is wrong about a section 20. A section 20 is something that you sign to put your child into foster care voluntary, right? I want to make sure that this team know not to let anybody sign a section 20 when they come here in the UK. This is where I'm standing. I've got, obviously, Elijah. Yes, darling. Oh. Elijah's doing his minute of silence. We've got no drums. The drums have gone. You can use my table as a drum. You can use my skates as a drum. My skate wheels as a drum.
Go in a separate, different way.
Why you got your eyes closed?
Well, without getting distracted, without anyone moving.
Okay.
That's why I can't hear any noises. I can, okay? That's why I don't need any talking. That's why I'm walking. That's why I'm walking and not going forward.
Marching on the spot.
Yes, marching on the spot. I'm doing radio control from the army. So, and then...
Right, can I get on quickly? Because I don't want this to be too long, because it's meant to be my... Right, I'm getting on, Elijah. So, basically, Dean's here, so the boys can go to Dean if I need to. Right, so this green folder is basically my medical file up to 2010. I don't have the existing one now, and I worked really, really, really well with the first GP that I had here when I got to Portsmouth. But unfortunately, based on the conversation that me and him had, he actually left to move closer to his son, who had separated from his wife and wanted to be closer to his son, and chose a GP practice away. And he actually sort of set up to help other people in a different way, actually. And I ended up with the child protection one. And I keep asking for the child protection one because I know then if she's going to make a referral, I'm not just going to have a doctor go into another meeting and speak to another child protection. And people won't realise this. Behind every framework that exists, there is always a child protection overseer. So if you go to the GP, one or more of the GPs will be child protection trained, right? Not all of them, but some. If you go to A&E, there will be child protection. If you go to a church, there will be child protection. If you go to Brownies, there will be child protection. If you go to A&E, there will be child protection. If you go and register with a midwife, there will be child protection. And there'll also be high-risk midwives. Now, when it comes to somebody who has a 50-50 chance of passing their child a condition on, and that could be anything. Genetics is genetics, and we pass on anything to do with our DNA, even broken consciousness. We pass on what other people call family curses. We pass on what people call... so DNA, let me just get something double check so I actually pronounce it right. Elijah, can you give me... until 2 o'clock, please. Right, let me just put something in. Eleanor's coming around. DNA. I know what it means. I know what it stands for, but I've just got to get the pronunciation right. So, and the good thing is I've got my laptop in front of me. So to the people who've got the website up, I've now got the time to answer your questions. I couldn't before. Right, so just to get the pronunciation right. So DNA, which is basically everything that you are. So let me just get the actual proper definition here. So I'll even play it for you.
DNA. DNA.
Right. So a self-replicating. So here, a self-replicating. And so this is the rDNA that they're trying to understand. Materials that it presents in nearly all living organisms as a main constitute of chromosomes. It is the carrier of genetic information, the fundamental and distinctive characteristics or qualities of someone or something, especially when regarding an unchangeable. Diversity is part of the company's DNA. Let's go to more.
Mummy, there's a big, huge pump of wheel.
Oh, it'd be Eleanor. She was obviously busting. That's why. It's fine. I'll go and sort it out. Yep. I would use this as an example. Leave it. Don't go in the bathroom. I'll sort it.
There's 2 pieces of wheel.
Yeah, I will sort it. Eleanor's obviously gone to the bathroom. Men don't get shopping. It's not in our DNA. Right, more definitions, because I've got to go into the bathroom now. So here we go. So 1940s abbreviation of deoxy... Sorry? Okay, well, you're going to have to wait. She's already been for a wee by the looks of it. This is how many people, by the way, during lockdown found out how difficult it was to work from home, create a office with children and partners also not at work. I had to do this a long time ago and it caused DV. I would get phone calls, it would cause... Who's this guy? Who's that guy? That was my previous partner. Just 2 seconds because I'm going to have to settle the kids because he won't, because I'm working. Right, 2 seconds. Boys! I'm on live. Enough. Right, come on, off the stairs and in there. I'm not switching it off. I've got to go through this form. Your dad's here, so there's no reason to disturb me while I get this form done.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Right, well, I'm going back in there. Daddy's got you. Right, well, I'm taking my thing down so you can't disturb me then. I'm not leaving it open because it means don't disturb now. Let me just 2 seconds, just get the shower a minute. Just 2 seconds. Oh, she has, bless, she did. She went for me. Just 2 seconds. So basically, this form that I'm doing, this sort of stuff matters. So having to do things like this, obviously, my dog is so bloody good. I need to actually create something. She's not a puppy, by the way, but she obviously needed a week, and she has already been out. But the fact that she's gone in here is really, really, really cool. And most people would think that if you've got a disability, you would want a shower room. They're a fucking nightmare. I know most people are waiting for the council to fit them in shower rooms. They're a nightmare. You wouldn't want one, seriously. And in fact, it actually makes it harder to maintain it, to clean it. I watched a film the other day, right? And they had the most perfect fucking house. Like my dream. You know, they could this woman could wake up in the morning. She was able to jump in her pool. She was able to do her Pilates. I'm just trying to keep my thing. 2 seconds. I've got the surveyor coming out on Monday to assess all of this, and an occupational therapist. I've just got my bloody headphones wet. I knew I would. So I've got a surveyor coming out on Monday, an occupational therapist ringing me on Monday. And basically, it doesn't matter if you've got a mortgage, it doesn't matter if you're in a private rental, it doesn't matter if you're in a council house. One day, you might end up in a wheelchair, right? It doesn't matter if you're 60, 70, 80. You might be one of these people at some point in your life, and it doesn't matter if it's a child or adult. We don't have any other service. So adult is anything from 18 all the way through to whatever you may live. We were blessed with 100, but we were cursed with 60 to 70 years, right? So from the cradle to the grave, in the UK, I can't talk about other countries because I don't know what system that you have in place. I know every person who's under the Commonwealth does have this system. The welfare system was not created by government. It was created by an individual that partnered with government to make something pilot study to make available to everybody else. The welfare system, originally, you had to sell up everything that you had, and they were basically pawnbrokers. They would go into your house and they would go through all of your items and they would give you the money to suffice through that. And this is coming into sort of World War II, after World War II. So basically, the pawnbroker would come around and collect your gold. Yeah, this is how the benefit system started. So they would collect your gold and they would give you money. And then once you didn't have anything, they would then give you welfare checks to make sure that you could have basic food and basic stuff. And then obviously we had what was called the post office, right? So once the post office came along, you were able to go down to the post office, you were able to pick up your gyros, everything was on gyro, okay? Now, most people wouldn't know what gyro was now. If you spoke to the local youth about, oh, what you doing, you're picking up your gyro, they wouldn't know what that meant, right? It's no different to a soldier, a police officer, a doctor, a nurse. They all pick up their gyro, okay? They all pick up their contribution for their time and service based on an hourly rate, okay? That hourly rate works out over a consecutive of 40 to 80 hours. There is law that says how many hours you are officially allowed to work per day, per week, per month, per year, per season, okay? MPs are not allowed to buy property. They are not allowed to have second jobs, and they are literally servants to the people, members of parliament to serve the people, and they are a voice for the people. Fact. They're not meant to knock on your door with their agenda. They're meant to knock on your door and ask how you are and how things are affecting you, right? Now, I know full well the moment I do this, once it goes to fruition, so there is a seed a watering, a gestation, and fruition, right? It's the same with everything. If you want to see sunflowers, you've got to plant your seeds. If you want daisies in your garden, then plant daisy seeds. If you want an apple tree, then plant apple seeds. You know, you've got to plant the seeds for what it is that you're watering and what it is that you're able to attain. There's no point planting pear seeds. If you want apples, you want pears, yeah? So get yourself apple seeds. Ask for apple seeds. Therefore, you will have apple seeds, plant apple seeds, look after that tree, and over a gestation period, you will have an apple tree. There's no point going and getting some pear seeds if you don't want pears, or plums if you want apples, okay? So, but you can separate them seeds into everything that you want. Now, I need to correct myself because I've been corrected on information that came into me on when is the best time to cut down a tree. And is there a best time to cut down a tree? Okay. And the reason that I use these metaphors and analogies and things like that is because that is what the Bible is to me. The Bible is the perception of somebody's metaphor or story that they're telling to be able to explain from the cradle to the grave the mistakes that they made, the things that they did, and everybody interprets it in a different way. Now, my DNA, so let's go to on here, Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. So let me go to, now the challenge is, say you go to a doctor, so you got this nice little green folder, and the GP keeps a list of your medical history. And every time, so this is 2013, 2012, 2011, 2010. So let's go from 2010, seen in gynecological clinic, seen in psychiatry clinic, straight away. Letter from outside agency, and see where it goes. Yeah, so this was already starting at Choyley South Ribble Children's Health, right? And this is what annoys me about the system. When you have a physical condition and you have child protection, so take me, I'm diagnosed with hypermobility Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. That gives a 50-50 chance of a genetic DNA chance of passing that condition on. Therefore, child protection come in the midwifery world, because when a child like me comes into the world, I didn't come in through my mum's vagina. I was never crowned. I was born to a cesarean section. Now, this then cesarean section comes in. That's been my worst fear since I was ever a girl, to ever have to have a cesarean section. Because I never wanted to give birth to my children being cut from my belly or having to repair in such a way, because having a cesarean section is probably one of the most horribly severe things you could ever go through, having complete cut through into your belly and a baby taken out without crowning and coming into the world through sovereignty. And it's a horrible experience. We have technology such as the scans that we have with the baby, and we've advanced in such a way, from voodoo people putting their hands on their belly and going and getting a ring and going we can actually use equipment now that goes in that can tell you whether it's a boy or a girl. Okay, yes, there are medical conditions such as what's it called, a medaphriite, which means that it's born separate. I don't have balls, I have labia. There is something very different to testicles and labia, and it creates very different chemicals in our body. Our hips are different. You cannot change the hip structure of a man or a woman, a boy or a girl. The female has a womb. A man doesn't have a womb and never will have a womb. A female has a womb. Now, in order to bring a baby into that said womb, the hips, pelvis, separate and part. That's why there's something called maintenance with somebody with my condition, and other women can use. And that's just little simple things like having the elastic strap that goes around your hip and your pelvis, just to make sure you can stay stable, you look after your core. Every woman knows what zip in and zip up means. Come on, darling, get your pelvic floors while you're sitting to me. Squeeze in and up. Squeeze in and up. Every woman know if you don't do your pelvic floor coming to my age, honey, you're going to be pissing on the floor. So that's not mine in there, by the way. That's the dog's. But with her age, and as she gets older and us women get older, we also come into incontinence. Yeah. So as cradle to the grave, not everybody who's running around now worrying about whether they're going to be bombed, shot or whatever. Some of them are thinking, shit, how do I move my defibrillator? Some people are thinking, shit, I'm connected to a wire here in an A&E department. Some people are thinking, shit, how do I disconnect from this? Some people are thinking, shit, I can't even run to the fucking toilet, mate. Not everybody can pick up a gun and fight, and not everybody is meant to. As I said, the Bible said, thou shalt not kill, okay? Now, if anybody has ever seen the film Divergence, is it Divergence? No, not Divergence. Mockingbird, what is it? The one where the game starts, okay? And in that game, the first thing that she's told is don't pick up the bow and arrow. They are setting you up to all go violent, to bring the violence out in you. And if you've seen the film, everybody runs to pick up the defense tools that they can help fight themselves with. Elijah is not a fighter. It breaks his heart if he ever has to fight his brother back. And his brother is a lot stronger than him. Hence why he likes his army, because that's his protection, that's his defense. He's got me and he's got his father. And every person in the world wants to feel safe, down to the Queen, who's imprisoned herself and imprisoned her family by creating a security system around that they can't even go for a piss or a shit by themselves. Celebrities do it to themselves. Artists do it to themselves. Music people do it to themselves. Influencers do it to themselves, because people want to walk down the streets knowing full well that they've got a personal boundary, what you all know to now being called safeguarding, social distancing. There is only one person in the world who should ever know what my medical condition is, and that is my general practitioner and the specialists that are around me. As you know, from the very first day that I ever was introduced to EDS UK, which was based in Farnham, and I was living in Aldershot at the time, which was only just up the road, and I got quite heavily involved. And unfortunately, once you get into the doctors, everything is about medication. So you don't even you get 5 minutes with a GP. I get 10 because I get to book a double appointment. You can't sit down with a GP and explain what the fuck is going on and everything, especially with somebody like me with EDS. And someone like me goes to A&E and gets sent straight to psychiatrics because they do the MRI scan and they don't, or the X-ray, and they don't find it. Now, if you pick up an EDS book, it tells you immediately. X-rays don't work. We have subluxations, not breaks. Upright MRI scan is required to call the cranial instability, which means that I then have the tongue of the brain seated down. It causes some form of numbing, paralysia, and I know when my hands are up, I know when it gets really difficult. It goes all into the nerves. I have problems with my vagus nerve, and at the end of the day, when your body is always clicking in and clicking out. I've had that wired, by the way, so if you go closer, you'll probably see a slight hole by my wrist where that has been wired to stop going in and out, because I subluxed the ulnar bone that always goes down. I wouldn't want to slow anyone down. I'm also not going to do the skating tonight as well, because one, I have lost my confidence on my skates.
Come here.
I'll do it. Okay, she did need to go out. Okay, it's all right. I'll sort it. It's fine. I'll sort it. Right, you guys go to the living room. I'll sort it. Oh, she did need to go out. She's been out twice with me, but we came back in earlier on because we only went out. No, leave her. She clearly needed to go out. But I only went out quickly to take a present over to one of the ladies here. But she has been out already this morning. But 2 seconds, where's the dog bags? Oh, this is why I need a garden. Here. This is why I need a garden. And in fact, actually, I've never actually lived in a flat other than having to go to council for help. I've always lived in a house. Where's my wipes gone? Where's the wipes gone? I won't show you. It's all right, Eleanor. It's fine. I will get you back out at your lunchtime one. I did say that I'm going to get her sort of a place and space where she knows she can go, and because she needs to be on her timing, and unfortunately she's on mine on when I'm taking her out, and because she's come from a family that obviously we haven't bred her, so to say. We haven't raised her. We don't know like what food she had before she came to us. We don't know what sort of training regime. She's very, very, very well trained, 100%. I mean, they've certainly trained her. I mean, I can have her off the lead, and that's only me having her since sort of December time. But it's no different than obviously Aaron and Faith being taken. And it's like, you've then got to write down. Has anyone ever seen Home Wife Swap? And you've basically got to write a manual for exactly how your home runs down to emergency plans. And I don't understand why I get penalised. And I think it's because of it being benefits, and they don't expect people from the benefit system to think about this stuff. And if you've ever filled out a benefit form, you will know the first questions that they put you through. Do you have any savings in Switzerland? Do you have any accounts in Switzerland? Do you have any hedge funds? Do you have any savings and investments? And these are the things that once I had children, it was right. I'm back. So the first thing that it will ask you is things. First things it will ask you is things like, do you have any savings in Sweden, Switzerland, things like this? Do you have any hedge funds? Do you have any ISAs? Do you have any savings and stuff? Now, my dad, from the very, 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 very day I was born, mate, thought about all of this stuff. I don't know who taught him, how he knew, or anything like that. But from the moment I was born, I know my stepmom had a lot to do with it. And my stepmom made sure that I had trust funds, made sure that when I got to an age that I would have all my college and university funds, that I would be able to buy a house, and that pretty much that I would be able to just go off and just be an air hostess for a bit, decide what it is that I wanted to do before ever thinking about the man that I was going to meet, or the children that I was going to have, or the house that I was going to have, or the white picket fence that I was going to have. And my mum, as in my stepmom, and my dad, and my mum, and my nan, and my aunties, and my family were all very insistent that they wanted me to have a different life than them. They all wanted me to have opportunities that they didn't have. And my nan used to persistently say that she wished she could send me off to Sweden to a finishing school so that I would have a better chance than the sort of men that my family would meet. And I think that's been something that they've always tried to teach me, not to be a teenage mum, not to have sex before marriage. And it's something that my nan even tried to install with me, that even though she was a hypocrite and she had a fag in her mouth and she used to try to talk to her father through Ouija boards, she did used to preach the Bible to me, and she did used to read passages to me, and she did used to lay there with me and, like try to sort of install different culture beliefs in me that wouldn't have been taught where I was. And my mum was always very insistent with this as well, especially like with makeup, especially with girls that wore their eyeliner on the inside, and my mum would teach me to put it on the outside, especially with girls that will wear really bright colours or not know how to blend in their makeup. My mum was always very insistent that I knew how to blend in my foundation, how to choose the right foundation, what makeup to use, how to make sure that I wasn't getting blisters with my feet and my shoes, how to wear the right shoes, how to walk in shoes, even how to sit down and eat at a table, down to 5-star, 7-star. My family were always quite persistent with me over things like that. I spent a lot of time eating on my own as a kid. And there was different standards with my stepmom as there was to my mum, because my stepmom used to just make me food, sit down and get me sorted before my dad used to come in, where my mum used to probably spend so much time trying to see what it is that I'd actually eat, which was obviously rice, chicken supreme, tagliatelle, poached eggs on toast, scrambled egg on toast, beans on toast, all this sort of thing. Anyway, so obviously being raised as a child where I would live with my dad and my stepmom, and then living with my mum, it was very difficult because in between you've got a girl sort of going, yeah, but my knees hurt, yeah, but my back hurts, but my hands hurt. And there is a whole set of notes. And in fact, the first place that it's actually got the notes is one of my school ones, where it just lists every one of my complaints. And it's always my neck, my back. So this is a stool. In fact, it's not actually a stool. It was a chair, but the chair back has broken off it. So it's officially a stool. But for somebody like me, straight away in university, they would make sure that I was sitting in a proper chair. So would any job. There is no shame or no embarrassment in going to the doctors and asking them what is going on with your body when you know that there is something wrong. In fact, my wrist thing is here. So there you go. There is my injury to lateral area hand. And it's not. And then the paperwork ends up saying things wrong. Do you know how many men have been in trouble and been told that they have hurt me when they actually haven't? And I'm trying to explain that we have EDS, and it's like my brother's the only person who's allowed to play fight with me, right? And the only reason he's allowed to play fight with me is because he knows how my wrists work, he knows I am, and stuff like that. So anyway, one of the other problems that I've got with these medical notes is they're from handwritten ones from when I was a child, and then it goes all the way through, and I've got to basically, I've got one of my school things here. That's not meant to be in there. That's one of my school ones. Luckily, I've got some of Faith's stuff in here, but I have actually been through and done all of this stuff, but it's been so long since I've done it, it's all over the place. But I'm actually looking for the letter that puts me right back to what all of this was ever about. But also, there's a lot of missed appointments. I walk out of A&E. This is the problem. I do. Right, here it is. Oh, no. Yeah, okay. So hang on a minute. Yes, let's stick with this. So this is 10th of June, 1994. And this is when I am Kellie Ann Avis Forrester, just to prove to you. So there is Kellie Ann Avis Forrester. And it was and it says here, thank you for referring this youngster to antenatal, and then I got the message that she wished to have a termination of pregnancy. I have seen her with her foster mother today, who is in fact a patient of mine. Kellie Ann has had a long thought about this, and although this is an unplanned pregnancy, she initially wished to continue with it, but being in her particular circumstances where she is due to leave her foster parents' home and go to college to retake her GCSEs from September onwards, she thinks it would be inappropriate. I agree with her and have made an appointment for her to be admitted in 1 week's time for a vaginal termination of pregnancy. I gather that she has already talked about other contraceptions with you and asked to go on the Depo-Provera. I'll show you. You can obviously screenshot it and read it yourself. And that's Frimley Park. And that's going to be the hospital that Josie is going to be going to give birth to her baby by the sounds of it. And then obviously order of vaginal termination of pregnancy. Now, if I show you my foster care file, which I would need to then cross-reference it, it will show you that I didn't choose to have the termination, that I was put through multi-agency frameworks, and that the conclusion was it was felt that it was the best decision for me, and I was coerced into having a termination. I have the evidence in the other paperwork that shows a doctor saying that I was told, because of the medication that I had been on for my bowels, so I was on medication, they put me on antidepressants, that it would cause a cleft, and that I wouldn't be able to cope with a cleft child at the age of 15 because cleft children have breathing problems and they die, and that would be too much for a 15-year-old to take on. I woke up from the termination screaming and crying, and I've dealt with that trauma ever since, and I still deal with that trauma. And I have 7 children that I need the justice for, because then obviously I had social come in on my first child when I had problems with my neck and my back. And then I had a man in my life who protected me because he was medical. And that's how I got diagnosed. And that's how we lead to me finally getting the diagnosis. It was Liam who got the first diagnosis because of his shoulder. And all the way through, Graham fucking was like a bullet, mate. He was at the hospital and everything. So anyway, let's bring it back to basics. So basically, I wasn't diagnosed for Liam. So people have attacked me on if you have EDS, why did you have children? I wasn't diagnosed with the baby they terminated. I wasn't diagnosed with Liam, and I wasn't diagnosed with Daniel. It was after both pregnancies when I got sicker and sicker without all of the help that we finally got to the bottom of it. Graham got to the bottom of it. My mum had always known since I was 15 what the diagnosis was. She never ever stepped in. So anyway, Kellie Ann was seen in antenatal clinic today. She is 20 weeks pregnant, has an abnormally scan, which is normal. She is in her 4th pregnancy, which her last born was on 2008, which is Aaron, but the 2 previous are a bit older, which is Liam and Daniel. She had 3 normal deliveries. I actually didn't have normal deliveries, but her last delivery was known to have Ehlers-Danlos syndrome and required anaesthetist input pre and during delivery. So this is why I have then had the multi-agency, because I have required anaesthetic input during delivery. She had a past partum hemorrhage, and looking through the notes, this appeared to not be straight away after delivery, but a few hours after. She was advised to have an EDA, but declined, and was eventually passed some tissue on the ward. She required a 2-unit blood transfusion. I'll drop a line to Dr. Bewley, but it appears that during the pregnancy, her problem appeared to start later on. So I initially arranged to see her again at 34 weeks to assess how she is going on with her joint pain and to organise a planned delivery. I sent Kellie a copy of the letter to keep her informed and look forward to seeing her again in her pregnancy. So, because of the technology, experience, NHS we have around us, women like me don't have to die giving birth or have to be thrown and tossed to the side because we're completely useless as wives and children and everything and called cripples and handicapped and stuff like that. So basically, I've got someone who's going to be working with me, and I'm not going to go through all this form now. But yes, this country helped people like me maintain mobility. And don't forget, there are people in the world who are deaf. There are people in the world who are blind. There are people in the world who have worked their whole damn lives and have fallen off ladders and ended up with brain damage. There are people who have been stupidity and had fights and ended up injured. There are people who are born with Down syndrome, with Marfan syndrome, with cancers, leukemias. People go to hospital. What we don't have is a proper rehabilitation period for people where there is. It's 3 weeks for someone like me. But then it comes down to childcare. But when it's a family condition, with our condition, and this is what causes problems, there is somebody for urology, which is my stomach. There is someone for podiatry, which is my feet. There is someone for osteo, which is all my joints. There is someone for neurology, which is my brain and my neck. There is somebody for cardiology, which is my heart. There is somebody for rheumatology, which is the pain. There is somebody for oncology, blah, 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 blah. There is nothing holistic that looks at us in terms of our personal development, our training and stuff. However, there is a Pilates teacher who has EDS who's leading the way in what I've been trying to explain on nutrition and stuff like that, and having the right activities and the right schedule. Someone like me can't be forced to go into a job and work at the level that people, just like I would be a liability to the people going over to Ukraine. And also because they're all right-wing Nazis, I can't really get involved because I'd be projected on, blah, 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 blah. And I would stop for any Ukrainian, Russian, doesn't matter. I'm over there for the women that they've already been raped. they're already reporting that the women are being raped. They're saying it's the Russian soldiers, but it's not. Once you kicked off that savage in somebody, so let's go back to the film again. I'll put the quotes up. They all run forward, and everyone picks up the bows and arrows, the guns, the weapons, blah, 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 blah. She doesn't. She runs to the highest place. You pick that stuff up later, but she doesn't. And there's a reason for it, and it's not to pick into that savage mode. Once that happens, it's a rape for all. Men will be raped, women will be raped, children will be raped, people will be burnt, and they're scared of each other now. This isn't about Russia and Ukraine. This is about any person who sees shadow, boom, bang, bang, doof, and they're not trained. And this is a free for all. This, like I said, this is Hunger Games for you, and it's already kicked off. And it's not nice to see, and it's not nice to watch, and it's emotional, it's horrible. And a lot of people like to just switch off the telly, ignore, and go into their nice lives. So I have to, because I'm... Morning, I think it's afternoon. I'm actually needing to be enabled, not disabled. And that means, say I was going to go on these things, so say even skating, it just means that I need people around that if I fall, they know. Or if I've done my wrist, they know. And be around people. I might put a brace on tomorrow. And what's difficult is someone sitting like me, sitting in a wheelchair to go somewhere a bit longer. Then people look at me walking. Then they see me on my skates. Then they see me going out and about. And it's like, it's confusing for them. So for me, on how does it affect me, it's not so much about how it affects me, because I've lived with it for 43 years. It's how I cope and manage with the people out there in the world, really, on how you ask for help, how you sort of say and explain, look, do you mind just grabbing that up there? Because if I put my shoulder above here, and that's my range to when it goes, yeah? So that's range. Sorry, back. So that would be my range. So if I ask somebody to get somebody off on a shelf, I've got to stand there and say, I've got Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. It's quite got me. But if I put my arm up even further to try to pick something up, once it gets to there, ow, there you go. There you go. So does that hurt? Yes, and it radiates and it goes through, and sometimes the nerve traps, and it's really fucking annoying, and now it's hurting me down in my back, because everything is connected. Everything is connected through every orifice of our body, and I've got pains going on in here right now that are really fucking horrible, and I've got pains going on here on the front of my head. I've always believed that if I dealt with my deep-rooted trauma, that I would be healed from everything. The band's going off in my back right now, and I feel it in here, okay? It's very horrible to live with. It's very horrible pains. And we have to, as individuals and humans, master the balance between pain and pleasure. And we have to learn how to deal with that pain and pleasure and feel the fear anyway and do it. And that's very difficult when you're aligning all your chakras and connecting in, and you're cracking and you're moving. But for somebody like me, I've asked people whether there is this trauma, and there isn't enough higher. If I said the hypothesis was all Ehlers-Danlos syndrome people have been sexually abused, that would be incorrect. It would be nil and void, because that's not actually true. If I said, okay, let's look historically, is there anybody historically in their family that's been through sexual abuse and rape and trauma? I don't know. But as I feel it in here, and I feel it in here, and I feel it in there, there's the pain. However, I have what's called mitral valves. I don't necessarily have vascular EDS, however, I am symptomatic. The only thing that makes me not have vascular is I've got big lips, and they say, oh, it's small lips. I got rubber lips. Hey, laser lips, your mother was a snowblower. Pains in my back, slightly in here. Lots of different things that go on, and it's very difficult to explain to people all the time on what it's like dealing with neurons and synapses that misfire, okay? So basically my condition, if you want to do your own research, it's Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. I was going to bring the website up, but I probably will just before I sign out, unless the internet's disconnected. And I've got all sorts of shooting pains going on within here, within here, within here, within here, here. So somebody who would then go, oh, you go to the doctors and they go, oh, you got Royne syndrome. No, these are coming from inside, not outside. But yes, you can push my body here and it will hurt. And I'm probably covered in bruises, internal bruises, outside bruises. So, you know, if someone like me was going to get up and go and fight in a war, I'd be a fucking liability, mate. You know, bless the men, they'd want to look after me because I'm a woman in the first place. So that's shutting down the men straight away. Or they'd want to rape me, and then I've got to fight for my fucking life. Look, I'm a mother through and through, and if anyone, I go anywhere, I go everywhere with my kids, and it's as simple as that. So I wouldn't leave my kids in its current situation. So I know where 4 of my children are. I don't know where 2 of them are. I have an idea where 2 of them are, but I don't know where they are. But I've got if I decided to cross a line, it would be very easy for me to break into the adoption agency, open up the computers and get my children's address, and that's easy. But that's crossing a line for me. If it has to come to that and it's a free-for-all, then I would do that, but I know where to go. So anyway, this is what I'm working on. I've got somebody helping me and working on it, and then basically I've got to go through things like, and then I've got to get this back by the 24th of March. So basically, I'll go through this. I'll scan it up and show you. But this is the thing. Whether you have power and attorney for someone, a deputy or receiver of them, tutor, guardian. I don't even know what that is, though. Judicial factors, corporate acting body, in the process of becoming one of the bother. DW has appointed me. I want DW to appoint, blah, 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 blah. And this is the problem with doing forms like this. And you have to have a social worker to fill it out. This is what annoys me. But I'm not doing it that way. I'm doing it through judicial review. So I'm basically just filling all this out for a judicial review, basically. And that's the way I'm doing it. I'm not willing to let anybody see, ow, right in the back of the middle, back of my thing. But I don't like talking about it because it brings me back into the flesh, and I don't like being in flesh. I'd rather be in spirit. So, Lord Jesus, please take this physical body away from me right now. In the name of Jesus Christ, remove me from my limitations and bring me into grace. Bring the spirit within me, through me, so I can act with grace. For Lord Jesus, this pain. It's a fucking pain in the fucking ass. So guide me and speak. So anyway, nutrition, gymnastics, training, healthcare plan, and my own routine and structure, and the boys, and it's as simple as that. But again, information out there. Should I eat meat? Should I not eat meat? Should I eat dairy? Should I eat wheat? Should I eat gluten? It can go right down the rabbit hole, and that's the challenge. So anyway, I'm going to go and drink a shitty coffee, make another one. This is cold. Pain, eh? Let me just sit. Look, I've put you a little bed in there so you can go in there. Right, anyway, I'm going back into my real world. I really need a wee, which is why I need to go. And Eleanor's had a wee and a poo, so at least I can take her out training now. I was hoping she was going to wait until the end of the live, but obviously not. I got beds to strip, normal stuff to do. It's Saturday, paperwork, and yeah, catch you later.